So in this lesson I'm going to look at one final example for hypothesis testing for the proportion. I'm going to test the claim at the 95% confidence level that the proportion of teenage mobile phone users exceeding their recommended daily screen time is 65%. A random sample of 225 teenagers was selected and found to consist of 69% exceeding their recommended daily screen time. I want to test the claim. The question is test the claim. I'm going to perform a hypothesis test. Somebody is making some claim about the population. The population here is all teenage mobile phone users. We have taken a sample of 225 of those. All these hypothesis tests we start by making note of the null and alternate hypothesis. The null hypothesis is the claim that is being made about the population. The claim is that the true population proportion of teenagers using teenage mobile phone users exceeding their recommended daily screen time is 65%. So that the true population proportion is 65%, and I'm hoping you've already figured out what the alternative hypothesis is, that P is not 65%. We always write those two things down at the start. Okay? In this case, the population proportion has been given, the sample proportion has been given. The sample proportion was 69%. No great calculation necessary there. We also need to find the margin of error, and the margin of error on our course is always 1 over root n, which is an approximation. There's a more accurate way to find the margin of error. We're just finding 1 over root n, which is 1 over the square root of the sample size. Sample size here, 225 teenagers. So again, that goes into your calculator. One thing I would note is that we're dealing with percentages, so turn it into a percentage at the end. So we're typing in 1 divided by the square root of 225, which my calculator rounds off to about 0.067, so about 6.7%. Okay, remember to construct the 95% confidence interval for the proportion. There is a formula, and it is this. My lower limit is p hat subtract e. My upper limit is p hat plus e. If the claimed proportion is outside of this interval, then we will reject. If it is not outside the interval, then we will not reject. So we're going to construct that that confidence interval. So in this case, let me write a bit down here. So p hat subtract e, well, that's 69%. Subtract 6.7%. That's my lower limit, and my upper limit is going to be 69% plus 6.7%. So just a bit of subtracting and adding here. So 69% subtract 6.7, that's going to be 62.3%, and my upper limit is 69% plus 6.7%, that's 75.7%. Okay, that's written in interval notation. If you want, you can write it using an inequality. I think your textbook uses an inequality mostly. So 75.7%. So we're saying that P should be bigger than 62.3% and less than 75.7%. So here's my decision. Here's the moment where I'm going to make my decision. I'm going to either reject or not reject. Remember, I never accept. And I'm going to look at what is the claimed proportion. Well, the claimed proportion is 65%. Our research suggests that the true proportion is between 62.3 and 75.7. So the claimed proportion does not kind of disagree with our research. So there's not enough evidence to reject this. So my decision here will be do not reject. The null hypothesis. Since, well, why? Since that 65% fits exactly in between 62.3% and 75.7%. It's right in there. It's in the interval. So I will not reject the null hypothesis in this case because the claimed population proportion fits nicely into my interval. It's not less than the lower limit. It's not greater than the bigger limit, the upper limit. So I'm not rejecting it. And the way we'd put that into words is I'm going to say there is insufficient evidence at the 95% confidence level to reject the claim. Okay, and so notice there will be either sufficient evidence to reject or insufficient evidence to reject. There is never, we never accept. We are going to reject or not reject. So somebody makes a claim, it's our job to research the claim and ultimately to try to reject it using our confidence interval. In this case, our confidence interval, we haven't been able to reject it, so we don't reject it. Okay? And that's hypothesis testing. So practice, practice, practice. That's end of chapter. And make sure you go over all your test yourself questions at the end of the chapter on all that stuff. Okay?